So pre-qualifying is we don't really care where they are in that quadrant. We just want to know that they're not in the do not fit at all. So we're just looking for that there may be a fit. And this basically, we accomplish this by asking some soft questions to learn what's generally going on with the prospect, okay? And I'll show you some examples of questions that can help with this. And the goal of pre-qualifying is only to determine, does it make sense for us to keep talking? So if you're talking to someone on a cold call, you want to pre-qualify them just to determine, does it even make sense for us to continue this conversation or to move on to scheduling an appointment? Now, some examples of pre-qualifying questions could be, I'll give you some examples, but I'm going to use a hypothetical scenario here, and I'll just try to use one that everybody can relate to, and this is a car salesperson. So for a car salesperson to fully qualify a prospect, they want to know, if they what their credit rating is, what they have, how much money they have to put down. There's a lot of really deep questions. But just to pre-qualify, you might want to ask questions like, oh, what are you currently driving today? And just to show you how good of a pre-qualifying question that is for someone that say, if someone walks onto the lot and you say, well, what are you driving today? And they say, well, I'm driving a 1-year-old model. Well, that tells you they purchased a car very recently, which means that they have a very good car, and most likely they're not going to be purchasing a car based on normal statistics. Someone doesn't go and buy a new car every year. Now, you could drill in to validate that. If they answer with what they currently drive, that the car is 10 years old, then you know, oh, well, it might make sense for us to keep talking. What year is your vehicle? How happy are you with your current car? How do you feel about the fuel economy of your car? How do you feel about the reliability? How often do you purchase a new car? So these are just really soft questions to feel out what's going on with a prospect. Now, this is a very specific example. I'll show you some more generic pre-qualifying questions in a minute. But as you can see, these are just general conversational questions to figure out what's going on. Does it even make sense for me to keep talking to this prospect or not? And they could answer some of those questions with answers that allow you to determine, I should not waste and invest too much time on this prospect. So what I just showed you there were examples for selling cars, but in previous chapters of the Smart Sales System, we've shown you current environment questions and a current environment questions building block, and those are really great for pre-qualifying. What are you using today? How long have you been with them? How's everything going? What are some things you like? What are some things you don't like? And so on. So these are just identifying what's going on with the current environment. Those can definitely help you to pre-qualify. Another building block of questions that are good for pre-qualifying are your pain questions. And if you don't recall what those are or don't know what your pain questions are questions, soft questions that you can ask to probe to see if someone has the pain that you can help to fix. For example, if your product helps with the pain point of can't sleep at night, tossing and turning at night, if those are the pain points that you help with, then a good pain question is, how do you feel about the quality of sleep you get every night? How often do you have nights where you toss and turn? So those are all good questions to probe for the pain point that you help to fix. Now, you may say, well, that sounds great, but I don't really know what pain questions to ask for what I sell. Well, here's a process real quick for you to develop your pain questions. Start with your product, and I'll go back here to web design. Web design services, building websites. Take your product and brainstorm the benefits that that product offers, improves design, traffic conversion, improves search engine, generates more leads. So once you brainstorm the benefits and value points for your product, take your benefits and then reverse engineer those, because each benefit can be turned upside down to identify a pain point that it helps to fix. And for going back to the sleep example, for example, if you sell something that helps someone to sleep better at night, then you can reverse engineer that, just that it solves the problem of tossing and turning and having trouble sleeping at night. So there's an inverse relationship between each pain point, each benefit point, and each pain point. So we can take all those benefits for web design services and come up with a corresponding list of pain points. Websites not performing, websites not converting, not getting traffic. Once you have your pain points that your product offers, for each pain point you should be able to develop a pain question. So if your website's not performing, how do you feel about the current design and layout of your website? How important is it for you to convert more? How important is it, how much of a priority is it for you to get more website traffic? So that process can help you to build your pain questions. And when you combine your pain questions with your current environment questions, you then have what you need to pre-qualify your prospects. Now let me show you where you want to pre-qualify your prospects in terms of the sales process. We've discussed in previous chapters of the Smart Sales System that there's 3 steps that you should be going through with a prospect. You have the initial contact, which is maybe a phone call, could be talking to someone at an event, a networking event, could be talking with someone on there, an inbound call, an inbound chat message, an email exchange. So you're interacting with the prospect for the first time. That's the initial contact. Then you want to drive that initial contact to a meeting, such as an appointment or a online meeting or a longer phone call. And then you drive that step to some sort of presentation. So the primary place where you're going to do pre-qualifying is the initial contact. And remember, pre-qualifying is just to determine, does it make sense for us to keep talking? So you're pre-qualifying at the initial contact to determine, does it make sense for me to schedule an appointment with this person? You don't need to worry too much about if they're the decision maker, if they have budget, because all you're putting at risk is a brief meeting. Once you get to the meeting, you don't really need to pre-qualify because you should have already pre-qualified. I will say the questions I just outlined, such as your pain questions and your current environment questions, are still good questions to ask at the meeting. Most likely you won't have the opportunity to ask all of your current environment questions and pain questions at the initial contact, so you can ask those in the meeting, but ideally you should have already, the step of pre-qualifying the prospect is complete at the initial contact step.